بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله أما بعد عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الصدق يهدي إلى البر وإن البر يهدي إلى الجنة وإن الرجل لا يصدق حتى يكون صديقا وإن الكذب يهدي إلى الفجور وإن الفجور يهدي إلى النار وإن الرجل لا يكذب حتى يكتب عند الله كذابا أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام رب يشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. In the last gathering we covered those areas that had mentioned about those certain times where we are allowed to use certain words which have double meaning. Meaning we don't speak the truth, we don't speak a complete lie. And those occasions were between the husband and the wife, when the person, the husband or the wife, doesn't misuse this hadith and this permission. Sometimes you may need to just use certain words which could have two meanings or could not be, a complete lie and it can't be a complete false as well, a truth as well. One is between husband and the wife. Number two, we also mentioned, was at the time of warfare, at the time of battle. Obviously, this requires a lot of explanation, who and when. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his time, had he used certain words or certain directions which will fall under this hadith. So that's the discussion of his own. And the third occasion when we are able to, it's called tawriyah. Tawriyah meaning it's not complete truth and it's not a complete false as well. So in between, you could have double meaning to it. So and the third occasion is between two individuals when you want to reconcile and bring them back together. So these were the three occasions. There's one or two other occasions I'll mention in the hadith as well, where we are able to use this option of not speaking according to the reality. And then we also mentioned about Imam Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi, the harms of sins. As the hadith here, it says that وَإِنَّ الْفُجُورَ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ, indeed sins leads towards the fire of Jahannam. So based on this part of the hadith, Imam Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi has mentioned around 20 harms of sins. We discussed some of them in our last gathering. Maulana Usman Qazi Sahib, in one of his clips, he mentioned that the harm of sin could make it difficult for a person to leave this world with iman. The harms of sin could make it difficult for a person to leave this world with iman. And the person will not even realize. He will not be able to utter and say the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to say the kalima, to say any good words. The hadith which says that the person whose last words are kalima la ilaha illallah dakhal al-jannah, will enter into Jannat, meaning any words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It could be subhanallah, it could be alhamdulillah, it could be ayat of the Quran, something got to do with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he mentioned in that clip that there was an adult who was unable to pray the kalima at the time of leaving this world. The people were around him doing talqeen and reminding him of reciting the kalima, and he was just not able to say the kalima. He just wasn't able to say it. So when he was asked in that condition, why is this happening? So he explained that it could be possible of a sin that I have committed in my life. He said that I was a shopkeeper. I was a shopkeeper. And at times you have customers who come and go. So once this beautiful woman walked in and the shaitan took control over me, looking at her beauty, I was attracted and my eyes just followed her around and was in, at that time, as they say, the zina of the eyes, the sin of this eye. The harm of that sin and the harm of that zina, I can see now. That because of that sin that I did, it is possible my tongue is not able to say the words of kalima. This is why we need to understand and realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not punish a person immediately. This is through the barakah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we are very fortunate that any sin, we as humans, kullu bani adam khata'un, that every human being is a sinner. Every human being, besides the group of the Anbiya, we are, such that we will slip, we will disobey, we will commit some wrong. So we are very fortunate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't punish us straight away, whereas in the previous ummah, they were able to see the punishments within the next day. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept that, muhlat for us, respite, and that we are able to have chance and have time to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to seek forgiveness. So Imam Umar Usman Qazi Sahib mentions that this was the incident. And a similar incident also happened. And he says that the person who was not able to say the kalima, he says that I was also a business person, I used to have a shop. Now we have the weighing scale. Nowadays, obviously, because of advanced weighing scales, we have different types of weighing scales. But just imagine the old weighing scale where you have the two scales on one side and you weigh the fruits and etc. So he says that I had that scale in my shop, and what I would do is that I would cheat the customers and put some weight on one side in order to sell something with more price for less item. So I used to cheat in this way. And now at the time of death, it seems like the needle that was in that scale is piercing through my tongue, and I'm not able to say the kalima. It's piercing through my tongue, and I'm not able to utter the words of kalima. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put that hatred in Allahumma habib ilayna al-iman wa zayyinu fi qulubina wa karrih ilayna al-kufr wal fusuq wal isyan wa other du'as, that, oh Allah, make iman and good deeds beloved to me, and kufr and shirk and sins and ma'asiyat, put hatred towards that in my heart. That I have dislikeness towards sins, and I have inclination towards goodness and towards good deeds. So this is the hadith here where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that verily sidq and truthfulness leads a person towards piety. So speaking the truth will enable us to do more good deeds, and this doing good deeds will lead us towards the path of Jannat. Whereas if a person continues doing this, a person has this habit where he's always speaking the truth and he's on the path of towards Jannat, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he'll be written as Siddiqa. After the Nabuwat, the next rank is of the rank of Siddiq, which Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu comes at the top. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if a person holds his quality in different aspects of his life, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also make him among the group of Siddiq. And then second part of the hadith, وَإِنَّ الْكَذِبْ يَهْدِي لَلْفُجُورِ, lying takes a person towards sins. One lie, to cover that one lie, you'll have to lie another 9900 times. So this will take a person towards sins, and then towards the sins eventually will lead a person towards the fire of Jahannam, until a person is written as kadhab and one of the liars. So this is the hadith that's mentioned by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here, a person written as kadhab, either he will be known within the humans as well. Written as kadhab in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could mean that the humans will also know that this person is already a liar. He's always lying, and we can't trust his words. Or the second meaning is that the angels are aware. The angels are aware that this person is a liar. So he's from the group of the liars. Or the third meaning of this is that the love of this person will be removed from the hearts of other human beings. This will be the result of this person's sin, that the love of this individual will be removed from the hearts of the other people, and then they will have hatred for him. That's why the hadith said that when a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person, He makes an announcement in the heavens, and the angels and the malaika, they also love this person, and the malaika make an announcement in the world, and the people naturally are inclined towards this person, and even though they don't know him, but you will see that at the time of his janazah, for example, hundreds and hundreds of people who have never seen him will come to his janazah. So when you speak the truth, when you have become the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the humans, non-humans, the animals, the birds, and the other creations also love this individual as well. So this is the hadith that's mentioned in the beginning of this chapter. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to bring these points that we mentioned in this hadith in our practical life, put the importance of speaking the truth and the love of speaking the truth and piety and goodness in our hearts, and remove lying and hate sins from our hearts, and make us one of those who are siddiq in all aspects, in our speech, in our actions, in our intentions, and protect us from being one of the liars. So this is the first hadith of this chapter. The second hadith we move on to, وعن الحسن بن علي رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال حفظت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم دع ما يريبك إلى ما لا يريبك فإن الصدق طمأنينة وإن الكذب ريبة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. This hadith has been narrated by Hassan radiallahu ta'ala an, the son of Ali radiallahu ta'ala an. Now, life of Hassan radiallahu anhu is itself as a topic, but it's quickly, briefly mentioning. The name is Hassan, his father's name is Ali, the mother's name is Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He's known as Abu Muhammad. And also Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu was like a copy of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As they say sometimes, that this grandchild is a copy of the grandfather. He looks like just like him. So like this, Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, once he saw him playing around and he picked him up and he said, this Hassan radiallahu anhu is a copy of his grandfather, of his nana, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not his father, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu was born in Madinatul Munawwara 3 years after Hijrat. So this is around 15, 17 years after Nabuwwat. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived another 8 years after Hassan radiallahu anhu was born. So when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world, Hassan radiallahu anhu was around the age of 7 and 8, around the age of 8. And when Hassan radiallahu anhu was born, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to his daughter, the Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha, and asked, what name are you going to keep? So she mentioned some names. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, his name will be Hassan. His name will be Hassan. So this was his also virtue, that the name of Hassan was kept by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the Sahabas, the Khulafa Arba'un, they all had a special love for Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he played a very great role after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the time of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu as well, and also in the time of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So one of the hadith that's mentioned, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that Ibni hada Sayyid, that this beloved son of mine, he's a leader. He's a leader. وَلَعَلَّ اللَّهَ أَن يُصْلِحَ بِهِ بَيْنَ فِئَتَيْنِ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. That there is a possibility that he will be the means of reconciling, bringing two groups of Muslims together. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he has a prophecy, he says here that the time is going to come where Hassan radiallahu anhu will be a means of two groups of Muslims coming together. He's indicating that there's something going to happen where the two Muslims group will fall out and there will be two groups. But Hassan radiallahu anhu will be in between in bringing these two together. And this happened after the demise of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the fourth Khalifa, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. After his demise, the Sahaba and the people who were present, the believers who were present, they made Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu as the Khalifa at that time. However, this lasted for around 6-7 months, and there was a dispute between a few groups, between believers. Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu was made the Amir, and there's a whole incident that took place. Now, Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu is one of those who is known as the scribes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. i.e., when the wahi used to come down, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu was one of those sahabi that used to write this down. He had the talent of writing, so he used to write the wahi down. And there are many other fadail and virtues of Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So the point that we here like to highlight is that every Sahabi is such that we do not take or have any beliefs which are wrong or which are ill beliefs about them. The dispute between the Sahabas or between the groups of the Sahabas happen, we have no right to make any judgments or make any comments about them. If a person was to make any comment that Muawiyah radiallahu anhu is such and he did this and he did this, oh Hassan radiallahu anhu did this and did that, if a person was to make any comments like this or have any beliefs like this, then it is possible that his iman will be at risk. His iman will be at risk. So there are groups in the world who unfortunately, and Allah protect us, have such beliefs, and they have beliefs about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and some of the members of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family as well. So anyway, so hadith here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he will be one of those, he'll be one that will bring the two groups together, and that happened between him and Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. There was a group there, they were separated. Then Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he stepped down and he took bay'at under the hands of Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and this was the time where the two groups came together. Now, Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu himself had many qualities as well, very generous and in worship and no love for this world and etc. And even though he was very young at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world, he has narrated around 8 to 13 ahadith. There are 8 to 13 ahadith which are recorded in the 6 books of ahadith. There is around 8 to 13 ahadith narrated by Hazrat Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He lived for around age of 47 or 48, passed away around 44 or 52, the couple of opinions, in Madinatul Munawwara. And when he passed away, he did seek permission, before he passed away, on his behalf, he did seek permission to be buried where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was buried, but the leader at that time, he didn't accept this request. However, he was buried in Jannatul Baqi, near to Hazrat Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. So this is where Hazrat Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu is buried in Jannatul Baqi. And at that time, Sa'id bin al-As radiallahu ta'ala anhu was alive at that time. He led the janazah of Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And in Madinatul Munawwara, that was probably one of the first time where a large group of believers came for janazah. It was never seen that you have such a large group that present at the time of janazah, and this happened at the time of Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu's janazah time. So this hadith is being narrated by Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. We'll conclude with 1 or 2 points which is very important for us, is that Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu is among the Ahl Bayt, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From being from the group of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we have a moderate belief. We don't go extreme and we don't completely ignore as well. So the love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family is a very integral part of our belief of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So we take that moderate belief. What does that mean? That means that after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu at the top. Then we have Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Then we have the Ashara Mubashara. So we don't raise the ranks of the Ahlul Bayt to the top. We keep this rank. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And then the Ashara Mubashara, the remaining 6 are also included in after that. Then the Ahlul Bayt also coming in there. So we don't completely ignore the first 3 or the other Ashara Mubashara. Rather we have this rank, and this is the correct belief and the moderate belief from the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says in hadith that he holding Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu on his shoulders, and he saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I have love for Hassan, you have love for him as well. And in one narration he says that you, oh Allah, also have love for that being who loves Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Whosoever loves Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, oh Allah, you also love him. You also love him. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a very close connection with Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So our love for Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu is from the belief of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And inshallah our love for Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu will attract the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also. And one way to express this love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family is mentioned by Hazrat Maulana Sumutara Rahmatullahi Alayhi. He says that once on the 10th of Muharram, we were sat with Hazrat Shaykh Maulana Muhammad Zakaria Rahmatullahi Alayhi, and a couple of us were sat there was a group sat there, and he turned to us and he said that today is the day where people will be commemorating, remembering the Ahlul Bayt. How many of you have done Isal al-Sawaf for the Ahlul Bayt? So my Sumutala Rahmatullahi Alayhi said that we were just kept quiet. We had no answer. We couldn't say anything. So after a small pause, the Shaykh Rahmatullahi Alayhi turns around and he says, from the beginning of Muharram, every single day I have completed one Quran khatam and then Isal al-Sawaf for Ahlul Bayt. Then Isal al-Sawaf for Ahlul Bayt. So this is what we need to do. We need to follow the legacy of the Ahlul Bayt. We need to follow the legacy of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. And number two, remember them in our du'as. And number three, very easily, on a daily basis, Surah Al-Ikhlas 3 times, Surah Yasin, or any part of the Quran that we may have read, or something in charity, throughout the year, not just in the month of Muharram, but throughout the year, the way we do it, regarding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam throughout the year, not only in the month of Rabiul Awwal. And this, remember the Ahlul Bayt throughout the year in different methods that we do have. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the correct love of Ahlul Bayt and also the correct belief and keep us amongst the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah and give us the ability to bring these points into our lives. Allahumma ameen. Subhanallah bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.